This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
I listen to all of Jason's podcasts, most of them. I think I've got about 2 or 3 of them on my smartphone, but I have learned so much from him, and it has led to a lot of other different things, from health and fitness and just life in general. It's really amazing what he does, and I love it when he goes off on tangents. And Jason's insight's been really helpful too.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Show with Jason Hartman. You're about to learn a new slant on investing, some exciting techniques, and fresh new approaches to the world's most historically proven asset class that will enable you to create more wealth and freedom than you ever thought possible. Jason is a genuine self-made multimillionaire who's actually been there and done it. He's a successful investor, lender, developer, and entrepreneur who's owned properties in 11 states, had hundreds of tenants, and been involved in thousands of real estate transactions. This program will help you follow in Jason's footsteps on the road to your financial independence day. You really can do it. And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
Welcome to episode 1751. It's so great to be home again, sleeping in my own bed. It's good to be home. Anyway, wow, the air quality in Florida is so nice. I must tell you, it is just so nice, the air quality here. When I was in Scottsdale, I was thinking how much I loved that place, but you can't beat the air quality in Florida. It is just super nice here. Anyway, okay, so before I start sounding like the AQMD in California, I will move on to real estate. But, actually, I must mention, it might be worth paying those ridiculous California taxes, because we are now witnessing one of the rare times, ladies and gentlemen, that I am actually supporting Governor Gavin Nuisance. Yes, I am supporting Governor Gavin Nuisance because he wants to eliminate a huge nuisance. And thank you to all of you listeners who sent me the article on this. I got it repeatedly from a few of you. And that was eliminating gas-powered leaf blowers. Yay! Absolutely good idea. Look, those things are the scourge of the earth. Gas-powered gardening equipment of any type should be eliminated, but especially the leaf blower, the worst invention in human history. Yes, it is the leaf blower, the worst thing ever. Gosh, they've got those around my neighborhood here, and it's just ridiculous. They've got to go. It's time to eliminate that. Occasionally, I just put my libertarian beliefs aside, and I say, I just want to be practical and get rid of those awful things. So, hey, that's what they're doing in California, the land of heavy-handed government. At least the heavy hand is doing the right thing for once. So there you go. Okay, so I thought I'd share a couple of examples of how you benefit from inflation very specifically. We talk, of course, a lot about inflation-induced debt destruction. I know you've heard it a million times, but it is the big thing, right? So we got to keep talking about it. We got to keep looking at it in different ways. And hey, who says there's no inflation? Now, much of this is caused by COVID shortages, but there is underlying inflation in the system. And I saved the little screenshot from my awful rental car experience in Phoenix, Arizona. I did not get a rental car because of this. I don't care how rich I am. I don't like getting hosed, okay? It's just not right. And you got to say, it doesn't matter. Just not going to do it. So, yes, a Volkswagen Jetta for $396 a day for my little trip where I stopped in Arizona on this 15-day 3-city excursion I just finished. It would have been $2,224 to rent a Volkswagen Jetta. And then a Ford Fusion is $399 per day. What a bargain! You mean it's not $400? Wait, that was actually discounted from $476, so hey, 16% off. $2,239 for my short trip there. Yeah. No thanks on the rental cars. But it just shows you that there is so much dysfunction in the economy right now, and so much inflation and shrinkflation. Of course, the packages are getting smaller, the portions are getting smaller, which, hey, that might do Americans some good right there. But notwithstanding the obesity epidemic, we are getting shrinkflation everywhere because we're just getting less and less while paying more. I can't tell you the amount of time I spend every day doing things on my computer that used to be done for me by people. Yeah, we live in a do-it-yourself world. And so if the prices are the same, just for example, but we're getting less service, then if we had to hire the service, the prices would be higher. So that's inflation. It's shrinkflation, the concept that you get less, but you pay more. And that's certainly true in packaging, and we've shared all kinds of examples of that on the show over the years. But let's take this $1 million worth of mortgages, this example that I've used before, but this is not the same one. It's a new one. And let's assume you get an interest-only loan, and you get, say, 4 mortgages for $250,000 each on properties you buy where you put another $200,000 down, so you're into this deal for $1.2 million, but you've got $1 million worth of mortgages. Borrow for 10 years, interest only, so as you go through time, you're not paying down the principal, but inflation is paying down the principal for you, right? You know that because that's what I've been teaching you. But the principal is not being paid down in the mortgage payment each month on an amortized loan because this is interest only. So you fast forward to 2031, 10 years hence, and this $1 million at a modest 4% inflation rate, because remember, it's cumulative inflation that we're looking at, and you've got a cumulative inflation rate there of 32.44%. Now, when you work that the other way, I think it actually compounds the other way. Ooh, I gotta think about that math for a minute. But anyway, you're at least getting 32.44% off, right? Because your interest-only mortgage, even though the mortgage statements still show that you owe $1 million 10 years from now because it's interest only, you paid no principal. You really only owe, in inflation-adjusted dollars, $675,564. Right? Okay, so there you go. But what if you impute a more realistic inflation rate, which, by the way, at least this year, I am very confident that this is the real inflation rate for most of us. Yeah, no bones about it, as the saying goes. I couldn't think of what the saying was, sorry. So the real inflation rate, in my humble opinion, and there is much data to support this, Chapwood Index, lots of other things, Shadow Stats, John Williams was on the show, Peter Schiff was on the show, he says it's easily 12% right now. So 12%. Let's assume the inflation rate is 12%, okay? And by the way, I'm only saying it's that high now, like this year, maybe the past trailing 12 months. But many people, including the Chapwood Index, would say it's been that high for several years. Okay, you can slice and dice this many ways. People argue about it, whatever. What's the official rate? What's the real rate? It's a little different for everybody. That's why it's hard to really come to a conclusion on it. But let's go with 12%. Some would say it's much higher than that. At the 12% rate, and $1 million worth of mortgages, 10 years from now, if you don't pay 1 penny of principal, no amortization, no principal and interest every month, just interest only, then you would have had a payoff, an inflation payoff of those 4 mortgages, it still says you owe $1 million, but in reality, in real dollars, adjusted for inflation, you would only owe $321,973. Just think about the massive discount you are getting. Regardless of what the real inflation rate is, it doesn't matter. The fact is, it is a huge, huge benefit to property owners. This inflation-induced debt destruction it's the hidden wealth creator. It is the most awesome thing ever. So basically in that example, you got 67.8% off, right? Think about that. So $670,000, well, more than that, $678,000 about, paid off by inflation. Now think about it this way, okay? That's over 10 years. How much do you make every year? Do you make $100,000 just for round numbers? I mean, the typical household income in the U.S. now is what, about $65,000? I want you to just divide that discount by the 10 years. It's about $68,000 a year. So basically, think about it. If you're making the typical U.S. income, your income has doubled through inflation-induced debt destruction. If you're making $100,000, then your income went up by like 68% through inflation-induced debt destruction. Now, note that that does not include tax benefits, positive cash flow, appreciation, or, well, we don't have it now anymore, but certainly many of you who've been following my work for many years have benefited from it over the years, and that is regression to replacement cost. Yes, regression to replacement cost. I've explained on prior episodes. We won't go into it here. But just think about the wealth creator that is available. This is $1 million in mortgages. A good example would be 4 humble single-family homes that you could buy at jasonhartman.com/properties. Of course, you'll buy them there. And look at the advantage you get. It's just amazing. I mean, maybe increase your income by 68% annually, just on the inflation-induced debt destruction alone, not counting all of the other multi-dimensional returns you get from income property. This, among other things, is why it is the most historically proven asset class in the entire world. All right, looking at a Housing Wire article here. Home buyers drawn to cheaper areas in the Midwest and South. No, really? Imagine that. It says contract signings are up 8% from July, but still below August 2020 data. Yes, these people are taking advantage of the savings. Pending home sales rose in August following 2 consecutive months of decline, according to National Association of Realtors' Pending Home Sales Index, a report released on Wednesday. Now, by the way, you should note that, remember, this is a September 29th article. And you think, well, Jason, why are you talking about July and August? Isn't that old news? No, it's not old news, because this is the way real estate works. And this is one of the reasons the statistics mislead people. There are many ways to mislead people with statistics, but it's the lag time. Remember, there's a big lag time with real estate that is not true of the stock market, which is real time, to give you a comparison. Okay, so let's see what it says here. It says, quote, increased inventory of homes for sale near historic low mortgage rates and favorable demographics means more housing demand, Odeka Kashi, a First American deputy chief economist, said in a statement. This is a strong purchase market, and the uptick in inventory is bringing back some buyers who pulled back during the peak frenzy. Folks, I got to tell you, I am so glad that the inventory has improved just a little. The problem is, and here's the problem, it's pretty significant, that mostly what they're talking about here is traditional home buyers, not investors. And the traditional home buyer is buying a house in these markets that they're referring to that's probably $350,000 to $500,000. Okay? Again, not so true in the entry-level housing market, the properties that you'll find at jasonhartman.com/properties, because the inventory of those is really, really scarce, but it's still ever so slightly better. Just a little bit better. But I'll take it. We've been hoping for some relief for a long, long time. Okay, so there you go. People are drawn to these cheaper markets. Imagine that. So when I was in Scottsdale, I went to lunch with one of our clients, Gene Morris. Okay, Gene, hey, how you doing out there? Anyway, we had lunch and we were talking about his move, right? He and his wife, Eva, moved to Scottsdale. They left the Socialist Republic of California. Finally left. They took the plunge just as I did 10 years ago. And I got to tell you, they were so happy about their move. It is amazing. Mostly in life, hey, we've all heard the old saying, you get what you pay for. That's not true at all. Absolutely not true. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Sometimes you get a lot less than you pay for, as in living in an expensive area. You usually get a lot less than you pay for, oddly. I know it should be the other way around, but there are many examples and reasons of that I've explained. And sometimes you get more than you pay for. And when you move to these less expensive areas that are highly desirable areas, a lot of times life is better and you're building wealth so much faster. As I have said many years ago, I talked about my move from California to Arizona. And when I lived in SoCal, and when I left, my mortgage payment on my rather humble house, but my humble house was in a super expensive, nice area, my mortgage payment was $11,000 per month with principal, interest, taxes, right? $11,000 a month. And when I moved to Arizona, I lived in a much better place that I rented for only $3,600 per month. Life was better, like by every measure. And that's the odd thing. You don't think it should be that way. You think, hey, if you pay more, you get more. Not always. Sometimes you pay less and you get more. It's just the way life is. Life is complicated. It's nuanced. So something to think about. Okay, hey, let's go to the rest of our episode today. So what do we have coming up? We've got a little Q&A. I'm going to play for you a little Q&A that I was doing recently. We've got a little more of that today. And then I think we're going to have a segment. Well, I think actually first we're going to do that. We're going to have a segment from Ashley, who is sharing one of our blog articles for you. So we've got some informative stuff. And by the way, I did not forget about the birthday contest announcement. We're going to have that announcement. The judges are agonizing over the entries now. Everybody is trying to decide who are the winners going to be for the Jason birthday contest. Yes, we will announce the winners real soon. So it's coming. It's coming. And we're going to give out some nice prizes too, as well. So, and the info about that, by the way, jasonhartman.com/contest. And the winner announcements will be forthcoming. So it's not going to be too long, folks. Hold your horses. You got some good news coming. All right. So let's get to the rest of the show. And here we go.
Renter-majority suburbs are on the rise. Hey, everybody. Are we becoming a renter nation? You might have heard Jason talking about this before, but there is quite a bit of evidence out there pointing in this direction. The last decade has seen 103 metro suburbs transition from homeowner-dominated to renter-dominated zones, according to a recent report from rentcafe.com using U.S. Census Bureau data. With the recent transition of these 103 suburbs, 242 out of 1,105 analyzed suburbs within the 50 largest U.S. metro areas are now renter dominated. The number of suburban renters has increased by 22%, compared to a mere 3% increase in homeowners in these 50 metro area suburbs in the last 10 years. And out of these 103 suburbs that have become renter dominated, most are located within the metro areas of Washington, D.C., Miami, and Los Angeles, whose famed suburb, Beverly Hills, is now renter dominated. And what's more, it seems as if the wave of temporary migration that we saw in the early days of the pandemic in 2020 has turned out to be not so temporary. Jason was one of the first people talking about it, and according to this report, 57 more metro area suburbs are expected to follow suit and become renter dominated in the next 5 years. Of these 57 metro areas expected to become renter dominated within the next 5 years, most of these are located in California or Florida, but there are others located in Georgia, Maryland, Missouri, New York, and one in particular, Maple Heights, Ohio. Located in the Cleveland metro area, and with an already doubled renter rate, up 87% in the last decade, Maple Heights represents the suburb most likely to transition the soonest to a renter-dominated majority if its current growth rate continues. Millikan University Associate Professor of Sociology Kenneth Loundra connects the recent effects of the coronavirus pandemic to the projected uptick in renter-dominated suburbs. Quote, with the increase in remote work, short-term projects, and side hustles, there's every reason to believe that the future will be a more transitory, migratory existence. Most of this migration will be towards cities and urban landscapes, where even the suburbs will cluster most closely to urban areas, unquote. Who makes up the majority of the renter demographic? Not surprisingly, millennials and Gen Zs, according to census data, with 55% of renters younger than 45. For more information, please visit jasonhartman.com.
Okay. Number 2, what does this mean for existing mortgages? Whether this is a Lynette Zhang reset scenario call on debt, whether primary residence or rental income property to ensure beyond rental income having a roof over your head.
So Lynette's philosophy, if I've got it right, and Lynette, pardon me if I'm getting this wrong, is basically have the mortgages on the properties, but have gold on the side that you can use to pay them off if needed. Now, I don't agree with that, because why would you ever want to pay them off? You know, Lynette is of a different mind than I am, and, you know, she's more debt averse and more worried about the Great Reset concept. So, you know, who knows what could come out of it? I mean, anything is possible, of course, but, but I just think, you know, have the big mortgages and don't pay them off.
Yeah, it makes more sense to me too. Once I realized property taxes are part of an equation that I can't get away from, I don't even own this place.
Gene, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Folks, what Gene said right there is really brilliant. You never own a property free and clear. In almost any place in the world, they have some sort of property tax, which represents a perpetual lien on the property. It is not possible to actually own a property free and clear, because you have a property tax lien perpetually. And many times you have a homeowners association lien too.
Right. Okay? Yeah.
So yeah, you mortgage your properties. Okay.
It's that's the game you play. Once I had that perspective, I realized, okay, there's no point in paying anything off. It just doesn't make any sense. Number 3 here, if rental rates increase, won't that just keep pushing the rental income property prices? Yeah. The price of rent goes up, the price of the house go up as well.
Yeah, ultimately. But I mean, what really happens though in the residential market is the prices always lead. The prices go up first and the rents lag. It's always that way. Prices lead, rents lag. Okay. So yes, if rents get better, that will tend to make properties look more attractive to investors. More investor money comes into the market, and that has the effect of pushing prices up. But all of these things are wonderful if you own the properties. So buy the properties, and let's hope that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With $275,000 available, trying to figure out a number of rental income properties and a mix that maximizes cash flow and portfolio, but also de-risk possible issues with like rent moratoriums, vacancy maintenance, etc., through property classification in inflationary and deflationary scenarios. Okay, so that's what he's trying to do. So you got $275,000. He's trying to figure out how to best deploy that. I would definitely say stay out of blue states if you can. That would be my number one piece of advice right there from a guy who's got a handful of properties. Stay out of those.
Listen to Gene. He's giving
vultures.
Great advice there. Yeah,
they're vultures.
Absolutely.
And they're a pain in the ass too, man. They just don't stop hounding you with junk mail.
I know. No, it's unbelievable. So just to expand on that, Gene.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yep.
So you want to invest in landlord-friendly states, business-friendly states, places that are friendly to our cause as investors.
Our values.
These are the red states. Okay, they're the political environment tends to be conservative. They expect people to uphold their contracts. Imagine that. And if you get a bad tenant, you're going to have an easier time getting them out. So everything becomes more enforceable in a red state. Okay. Yeah. So that's a better market in which to invest for sure. So remember, when you buy properties or you invest in anything, you have various risks, right? You have counterparty risk, you have this and that, but you also have political risk.
Yeah.
Okay. So
seems to be it's the biggest one, I think, right now for me is that political risk. It's just like
right now, you're right. In the time we are living in absolutely crazy times right now. So political risk is very legit.
So George Gavin, Jason Hartman, and we've created a high-level mastermind group called The Collective. The goal of The Collective is for you to learn from the three of us, as well as, of course, the other members, on how to build and, more importantly, how to maintain your wealth. In this video, we're going to go into detail about what The Collective is and what it can do for you. Enjoy. So I'm Ken McElroy. I've been in real estate for over 30 years. Started with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath using my own money, and now I own over $1 billion worth of real estate that I bought over the years, built a big company. We have a construction company, a development company, a property management company, and of course an investment company. And typically now we syndicate and work with large, both private and public institutions for the equity and the debt. And so what I bring to The Collective is how to scale, how to grow, starting with one really small property with no experience at all and growing it into an organization, which I've been able to do that basically runs almost without me. So that's what I'm going to bring to The Collective. We decided to start The Collective because, one, I met George Gavin, and George brings a very interesting perspective about the economy and the Fed and the way money works and Bitcoin and alternative types of investments, which, quite honestly, I was super focused on real estate almost the entire time, and even I want to be a little bit more diverse. So when I talk to George and to Jason, they're always doing very, very different things on the investment side. Jason specifically is more focused on the single family housing and what's going on in that market so that we could collaborate and have different viewpoints on different things. And so that's why I thought The Collective would be good, because I think everybody's kind of searching for the same kinds of answers. So The Collective means to me basically the collective group, the whole. And I've always been a big believer of team and collaboration. So for me, it really means collaboration, of everyone kind of coming into a room and learning from each other based on their individual highs and their individual lows, and to be very, very respectful of all their independent views on things, and to be more open-minded, transparent, and authentic. So I cannot wait for the group to get together each and every quarter, because we all have very different walks of life that we're going through. And so it's very, very cool to get into one room with like-minded people. I think the right person for The Collective is somebody who's into personal development, somebody who's trying to be a better individual, somebody who's trying to have that work-life balance, trying to figure out good decision making on the investment side specifically, good decision making on the personal side perhaps, certainly on their health and on their wealth. The members that have already signed up are people typically that have businesses that they're growing, businesses that they've started, or businesses that they've sold. So typically they're higher net worth and they're trying to figure out what to do with their money. They're probably a little bit afraid of inflation. They're probably a little bit concerned about where to invest. And they're obviously looking at real estate as one component, somebody that's trying to do the right things both on the personal side and on the financial side. So some of the experiences that members can expect to get out of the collective are certainly the network. And I think that's always super powerful. I've been involved in groups like this before, like EO and YPO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, and YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization, which is kind of a peer-to-peer network. And that's what I envisioned, and I think people are gonna certainly get that out of there. They're gonna have lifelong friends for sure from this, and they're gonna meet people at every single event. But also, we're gonna have fun. So as an example, things like race car driving and doing all kinds of really cool things and meeting celebrities and things like that and fashion shows are gonna be part of it. So it's kind of how do we have fun and learn together? And we're gonna have that at each and every event. So thanks for watching. If you guys are interested, there's a link below you can click on. It'll take you right to the website, which has a load of information on exactly what the collective is, where the next events are, and what exactly you'll be getting if you become a member. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.